To understand this issue, the importance of local governments, a bit of background is necessary. So, Pakistan's ranking in Sustainable Development Goals, according to 2022 report, Pakistan ranks at 125th out of 163 countries in the world. What we need to understand that 125th ranking puts Pakistan in the vicinity or in the neighborhood of countries in sub-Saharan Africa. Those are the poorest of poor countries. And what are the sustainable development goals? Focus on many different things, but one of the key factors they focus on, the factors are, for example, clean water and sanitation. All of those functions which are ordinarily the core functions all over the world, the core functions of local governments. So Pakistan lags behind those core in achieving those sustainable development goals. Similarly, there's another very prestigious BTI Transformation Index report. It ranks 137 countries of the world. Pakistan in Governance Index ranks at 111th, in Economic Transformation at 106, Political Transformation at 101 out of 137 countries. Again, Pakistan ranks in the poorest of poor countries in the entire world. Again, with sub-Saharan Africa. Pakistan in South Asia its ranking is the worst. A BTI report of 2021 explicitly links all of these, the performance of the index of all of the core functions which are ordinarily the core functions of the local governments. Even the Sustainable Development Goals reports they have for 2030 agenda, they have linked localizing for effective achievement of SDGs, as they are called, with the local governments. So all of these things combined, they show, and all the studies in the world, they show that all the countries which have done well in achieving sustainable development goals are those countries which have effective local governments. So that is one very practical, pragmatic argument for having empowered local governments. But there are other democratic arguments, for example, and these both are linked. So what do people want? People want, or what do they need, is inclusive governance. They need transparent governance. They need responsive governance. So inclusive governance can be ensured if the people feel included. The local governments are those set of elected institutions that go on to the very streets, mohallas of any community. So people, their elected representatives, let's say a councillor, which hails from a ward, union council, they live amongst them. And the other is transparency, since they see that where the funds are being spent. So again, the transparent governance can be ensured by local governments. Also, the link with inclusivity and transparency is the responsiveness of governance. So imagine one of the core functions is sewage, and sanitation. Imagine there's dirty water in a street, in a local mohalla or locality. if there's a councillor living in that very street or in that very neighborhood, which mostly local government's representatives, they hail from those very streets and mohallas, they are themselves going to have difficulties, and B, then the people around their electorate is going to push them to do something about it because they have access to it. So inclusivity, transparency, and responsiveness, the three cardinal pillars of effective good governance, they are again linked with local governments. And similar, and all of these arguments, these are the arguments which are given for democracy. So local governments, in one sense, they are an unfinished agenda of the 18th Amendment, which is devolution of power to the lowest level. So similarly, there are again studies that have shown that even economic efficiency is increased because good governance is linked with economic efficiency. There's less wastage. So even economic efficiency is linked with effective local governments. I cannot emphasize enough on the importance and the role which the local governments can play in good governance and also strengthening democracy. In countries like Pakistan, uh, it often happens that the burden of democracy is shouldered by 1,600 elected representatives of the people which sit in provincial assemblies, national assemblies, and senate. So if there are effective local governments, then more people feel included in the democratic process. So in case there's an attack on democracy, as we have seen very often in this country, several martial law regimes, then the people are bound to come on streets and resist that. So for example, what happens, there's this extreme centralization at two levels. A, there's a provincial government after the 18th Amendment, which was passed by the Parliament in 2010. A significant amount of power and financial resources. The power included political power, the administrative power, and also financial powers were devolved to the provinces. Uh, and the idea was there was also Article 140A of the Constitution was inserted in 18th Amendment. The provinces were supposed to devolve that power further down to the local governments. What happened? The provinces got lots of power resources from the federal government, but they did not fulfill their obligation, that is effective devolution to the third level of government, which is local governments. So uh, you see Punjab. Let's take example of Punjab or Sindh. Punjab, if it were a separate country, would be one of the most populous countries in the world, and it is a province of 8 to 10 crore people. Uh, and to expect that such a large province with a population of approximately 10 crore can be run from an office of a chief minister is just ridiculous. It is not born out of any experience of the world. Even in totalitarian countries like China, the Chinese economic miracle, the transformation, has been due to effective local governments. They have devolved power in their provinces, despite the fact that this is such a centralized country. But they have devolved effective powers to their regions. And so, in that sense, there's the provincial government political, they arrogate power to themselves, and the other is bureaucracy. Lahore is a large metropolitan, and same as Karachi. Imagine this being run by one unelected official who is often deputy commissioner in Punjab. The deputy commissioners were appointed as the administrators. Similarly, in Karachi, there's an administrator. If Karachi and Lahore were different like separate countries, they would have been amongst the largest countries in the world. So you cannot expect one person, a bureaucrat of grade 20, who is not expert in anything. He does not specialize in anything. He's cut off from the feedback loop which is necessary for improving governance, and it just provides a room for abuse of power. We should not forget the old age wisdom. The power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So what we see that these administrators, bureaucracy, they, in the absence of local governments, they are the direct beneficiaries. They not only enjoy executive power, they also enjoy legislative powers. They exercise the powers of the elected houses, which are elected houses of local governments. So they have tremendous financial wealth at resources at their disposal. That 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 opens up rooms for corruption and abuse of and arbitrariness. And these things, the arbitrariness, corruption, lack of accountability, bureaucrats are not accountable to anyone. Politicians and elected people, they are accountable to their electorate, because they have to go back and get the feedback, and people punish, the electorate punish if you do not deliver in local governments during your time in office. So that brings me to the second point, that in order to strengthen local governments, there needs to be regular elections. The election There needs to be regular elections, and it's unfortunate that throughout Pakistan, every time the tenure of a local government ends, many years pass before there's a new election. There are a few exceptions here and there. Look at the example of province of Sindh. Similarly, in Punjab, for 3 years, local governments were suspended. Uh, in last 4 years, in 4 years, there have been four different laws and not a single election of local governments. In KP, there was an election held after a significant delay, and now, if powers have not been effectively given to the elected representatives of the people in KP. In Balochistan, the elections were again held after a considerable delay. So what happens that the cycle is broken, that ultimately weakens these institutions. It is like if the local governments are the nurseries of politics, that is where the leadership emerge. So you cannot expect these institutions to take root and grow if you keep disturbing them again and again. If you keep uprooting them, it is like expecting a plant to flower if you keep uprooting after every couple of days. And that is what exactly has been happening. Provincial governments have always, especially political governments, they have always found excuses to delay elections, and even when elections are not held, to deny effective powers. So it is very heartening to see that the Election Commission has recently taken a firm stance in the case of Islamabad, recently in Punjab, and now in Karachi. And Election Commission is exercising its constitutional powers. So election under the Constitution of Pakistan, under Article 148 of the Constitution, Election Commission is empowered to hold elections, so of the local governments. So it is very heartening that the Election Commission has finally shown some spine and is not bowing before provincial governments, and is insisting on elections. So we should, courts should strengthen the Election Commission, political parties, and all those people who want deepening of democracy, who want to strengthen democracy in this country, and who want good governance to flourish. They should insist on timely, regular elections and strengthening Election Commission of Pakistan. So it's unfortunate that political parties who claim to be pro-local governments, they are insisting on delaying elections. But I also see the point of view of MQM in Sindh, and that the delimitation process was very flawed. So it is a bit complex matter, but generally it is a very good sign that the Election Commission is exercising its constitutional powers and jurisdictions after a long time.